Welcome back to the channel. Today I am excited to go over the new Star Wars Unlimited expansion known as Legends of the Force. If you are a Star Wars fan, this set is fantastic if you like Jedi, Sith, and Force users. Here are the specs for this set. It's going to contain 18 new leaders. Every single one of them is going to have the Force trait. There are two leaders of note in this set that kind of diverge from the traditional leaders that you've seen in previous sets, and that's going to be Darth Revan and Anakin Skywalker. If you're going to notice on the cards, they have only the heroism and villainy icons listed on them, and they don't actually have any of the other aspect icons on them. So that's going to be a little bit different for deck construction. Most of the leaders that you're used to using obviously are going to have two of the symbols on them. In this case, these two unique leaders, which are both rare in the set, are only going to have one aspect listed on them. In particular, Anakin Skywalker is going to have the strange ability to play villainy style cards that are non-units without paying the aspect penalty. So think of this as both upgrades and events. Kind of a strange idea, but it's very, very thematic when you look at the end of the Clone Wars era in the movies. Darth Revan is also a sort of leader of note in the set. This character was present in the Old Republic style video games from many, many years ago. So anybody that is a fan of those games will note that Darth Revan is now included in this game. Next, we're going to go over one of the fundamental rule changes in this set, and that is the Force token. So I have it on the screen. It's just going to be one of the cards that you can use as a resource. So think of it as you can only have one of these Force tokens, and when you spend it, you remove it from your play area. Typically, when we're playing, people are placing it right next to their base, or just right underneath their base to show that they have the active Force token. Now, when the Force is with you is when you actually have the token. What you're going to notice is that there are numerous cards in this set where what you can do is actually spend the Force token. So as an example, I'm going to go ahead and throw Obi-Wan onto the screen. If you notice, there's an action and it says use the Force. So when you use the Force, you're going to remove the Force token from your play area and put it off to the side. And in this case, it's going to help you trigger this effect, which is give an experience token to a unit without an experience token on it. So what you're going to see throughout the sort of flow of the game when you're using this set is that the Force is going to be with you, and then you're going to be spending it, and then you can get it back. So you're kind of going to be fluctuating back and forth. In general, you're going to have some pretty nice effects going off if you spend this Force token. I think it's a kind of a neat dynamic, having this limited resource added to the game in which you can use it to play some really powerful things up front. It also gives you a lot of ways to make very cool decks. So think of it as, hey, I'm going to put this card down to get the Force token, and then in your next action, then you might be spending it. So there's almost kind of this cool flow to the game when you're using this Force token. So I highly recommend taking a look at it and all of the new cards that have been added to the set that use the Force token. In this set, there are no generic bases in which you're very used to seeing in all of the other sets that have come out for Star Wars Unlimited. In this set, all of the bases are going to be related to the Force token that we just talked about. So as an example, these are going to be the common bases that you're going to see throughout this set. Notice that they all have 28 hit points on them as opposed to the traditional 30. And what you're also going to notice is that they have the same exact effect. And what that says is when a friendly Force unit attacks, the Force is with you. Throughout this set, there are a ton of different cards, specifically a ton and ton of units. Every single leader is a Force leader. So what you're going to be doing is literally attacking with your Force units, and that's then going to give you control of the Force, and then you can use this token to spend it on different things. So this is kind of an exciting way to easily get the Force token by using Force units. Now, this is the common way to do it. The people that made this game also added in some rare versions of these bases, and I'll go over those in just a second. Here are the rare bases that are contained in this set. Notice that there's going to be one of each color. Now, traditionally, the bases that you will use in the set, they're common ones, and they force you to attack with a unit so that you get this force token. This is going to kind of break the rule, and there's one for each of the colors, which is kind of cool. So as an example, we have the temple that's on Lothal, and it says when the regroup phase starts, if you control a unit with 4 or more remaining hit points, the force is with you, and then you create the force token itself. So instead of having a bunch of like force units in particular, if you just control a unit with 4 or more remaining hit points, the force is with you. That's a lot easier to achieve. You just simply have to have a bigger unit out on the table. Please notice, though, that the amount of hit points on each of these rare bases is down to 25, so you're not going to be able to take as much damage, although gaining the force tokens are going to be a lot more flexible. Here's another example. This is the Temple of Destruction on Malachor. When a friendly unit deals 3 or more combat damage to an enemy base, the force is with you. Well, you know what? This one's an easy one to use because the whole point of this game is to attack the enemy base. So it's going to be really easy for you to obtain that force token. Next up, we have the Mystic Monastery. Action. The force is with you, so you just simply take an action. Now, the caveat in this is you can only use this effect 3 times over the course of the game, so you're going to have to track that by using some sort of token. You can't do it more than 3 times over the course of the game. And then finally, in the bottom right, it says action, exhaust a friendly unit. The force is with you. That's pretty easy. So oftentimes you're going to have maybe a token unit or something that's a little bit smaller. So if you want, you can go ahead and exhaust that friendly unit to gain the force token. So as you can see, there's a pretty wide variety of ways by using bases in which you can gain the use of this force token. And then consequently, you can spend it for some really cool special effects. So next up, you're going to see another new game mechanic that was introduced in this set, and that's going to be the hidden keyword. When something is hidden, it's obviously going to come into play exhausted, or typically it is. But the cool thing about being hidden is that that character, that unit, cannot be attacked until the remainder of the phase. And probably all of you have played enough Star Wars Unlimited, especially since we're, several sets into this game, where you're playing an opponent that literally anytime you put something down, they immediately kill it. So they'll attack it, they'll wipe it out. The hidden sort of keyword allows you a turn to kind of get things set up and to start putting some stuff out onto the table without it getting wiped out immediately. Now, the caveat to this is that it can't be attacked. Now, these units can still be targeted by events or other special effects in the game, but they just specifically cannot be attacked during that phase. Next up, this set has a larger number of creatures than what you've seen throughout the other sets, and there are some cards with an emphasis on creatures. So at this point, you can build different types of creature decks, and I just went ahead and put some examples out onto the screen for things that you can possibly put in. Now, one of my favorite ones is going to be the Curious Flock. It's on the left-hand side of the screen. This thing is pretty hilarious. It's a 1/1 creature, and what's cool about it says, when played, pay up to 6 resources. For each resource paid this way, give an experience token to this unit. So if you just play it out, and you don't have any additional resources, it's going to be a 1/1. But this thing could go all the way up to a 7/7. What's nice about this card is that throughout the course of the entire game, you can scale it. So whether it's on your first turn or your 7th turn, whatever turn it is, you can actually scale the sort of potency of this card. It's actually kind of a cool card. Something else you're going to see are a lot of the Space Whale, the Purrgil cards from Rebels that you see in the animated series, and obviously some of the other films involving Thrawn as well. And then on the right-hand side, I went ahead and just threw in an additional creature. So be on the lookout for different cards and different deck combinations that you can start putting together that utilize creatures. There's some cool builds that you can start looking into and putting together using this set of cards. My overall impressions of Legends of the Force, the expansion, are very positive. The artwork is amazing. Now, for me, especially watching all of the different movies and TV shows over the years, I have a fondness for Jedi and Sith and Force users. I think that's a really cool aspect of the Star Wars universe. So having a set literally based around the Force is amazing. I think the addition of the Force token is fantastic. Think of it as just another resource that you can use. It's like a limited resource that you can really buff up a lot of your different plays on different turns that you have. The other thing I really like is the hidden sort of special ability that you're going to start seeing on cards. It gives you a little bit of a reprieve from some of the chaos when you're putting your units into play. I also really liked what the game designers did with all of the different bases and kind of mixing it up and keeping some of the bases fresh. You're not going to see a normal traditional base in this entire set. They're all going to have kind of special abilities. All of these are going to be for gaining the different, these are going to be different ways that you can gain that Force token. So this is kind of amazing. It kept sort of the bases a little bit more fresh than some of the other sets that we've seen. Finally, I really enjoyed just all of the different leaders that they put into the game and all sorts of variation that they added. There's a lot of different deck construction ideas that are smattered throughout this set. The other thing that's really cool about it is feel free to go back to the previous sets, and there are cards that are going to combo very well with all of the new cards in this set. So what makes this game so exciting is that you can use older cards and then the new cards, and you can mash them all together and make some really wild decks and put them together. I want to thank everybody for joining me today, and as always, have fun gaming.